Good afternoon and welcome to Spectrum Television News at noon. I am Uyai Imam, come to you live from Uyo, the Akwa State capital. Let's take a look at the headlines. Former Vice President Atiku says democracy under siege in Nigeria. INEC says 15% voter turnout improvement on previous polls. In other news, New York City bans travel as blizzard hits with thousands of flights cancelled across the United States. We'll bring you the details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. A first news report is that the federal government has formalized the launch of a $50 million Impact Innovation Fund to support Nigerian startups tackling critical social challenges following agreement signed between the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority (NSIA) and the Japan International Cooperation Agency. The signing ceremony held at the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning in Abuja covered the grants contracts for the project for the development of supporting environment for startups addressing social challenges. Speaking at the event, NSIA Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer Aminu Umar Sadiq described the fund as a significant step for the startup ecosystem, adding that by providing early-stage ventures in high-impact sectors with the capital and support they need to grow, the federal government is enabling innovators to tackle some of the country's most pressing challenges. Meanwhile, the ambassador of Japan to Nigeria, Suzuki Hideo, explained that the project forms part of a broader cooperation package Japan is proposing to Nigeria aligned with its foreign policy priorities. From the legislature, the National Assembly has unveiled key reforms contained in the Electoral Act 2026, describing the law as a major overhaul designed to enhance transparency, strengthen electoral integrity, and deepen democratic governance in Nigeria ahead of the 2027 general elections. The reforms include the establishment of a dedicated fund for the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), mandatory electronic transmission of election results, compulsory use of the bimodal voter accreditation system for voter accreditation, and the requirement for political parties to maintain a digital membership register for the conduct of primaries. The leader of the Senate, Opeyemi Bamidele, disclosed the key highlights of the new electoral governance framework in a statement issued by his Directorate of Media and Public Affairs, stressing that the law resulted from extensive consultations with stakeholders over 2 years. According to Bamidele, the National Assembly engaged the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, INEC, civil society organizations, and development partners before harmonizing the versions of the electoral bill passed by both chambers and transmitting it to President Bola Tinubu for accent. He explained that the President signed the bill into law within 24 hours of its passage to avert a possible constitutional crisis in the build-up to the 2027 general elections, despite concerns raised by some civil society groups over the speed of accent. He further noted that the act is designed to strengthen institutional independence, improve technological integration, enhance transparency in election management, and reinforce accountability mechanisms in Nigeria's electoral system. Away from that, former Vice President and Chief Chairman of the African Democratic Congress (ADC), Atiku Abubakar, has raised concern over the low voter turnout recorded in Saturday's FCT area council elections. In a statement reacting to the exercise posted by his media aide Paul Ibe on X, the former vice president described the turnouts, which averaged below 20%, with Abuja Municipal Area Council recording a figure of 7.8%, and a damning verdict on the health of Nigeria's democracy under the current administration. Atiku said the abysmal civic participation in the nation's capital, the symbolic heartbeat of the federation, is not accidental. He argued that it is the predictable outcome of a political environment which he claimed has been poisoned by intolerance, intimidation, and the systematic weakening of opposition voices. The former presidential candidate alleged that the administration of President Bola Tinubu and the All Progressives Congress government have pursued policies that shrink democratic space, harass dissenters, and foster a climate where alternative political viewpoints are treated as threats rather than contributions to national development. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has said that voter turnout at Saturday's area council elections in the FCT marked an improvement in previous polls. The electoral umpire put the turnout at above 15% of the 1.6 million registered voters. The Commission explained that the final results from Kuje Area Council were delayed because of the difficult terrain in one of the electoral wards. In a statement signed by its acting director, Voter Education and Publicity, Wilfred Ifoga, and commended residents of the territory for the peaceful conduct of the elections while denying that some voters were migrated to other polling units. He said the difficulty experienced by some voters in locating the polling unit was as a result of the splitting of some polling units to allow for better voter access, adding that none of the voters were migrated away from their former vicinity. In a related development, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has described its win of one out of 6 area council chairmanship seats in the Federal Capital Territory as a proof of its position as Nigeria's credible and viable alternative platform. In its first formal response after the elections, the PDP National Caretaker Working Committee highlighted the victory of Mohammed Kasim in Gwagwalada Area Council alongside the success of several PDP councillors and the strong showing of other party candidates as evidence of the party's credibility as an alternative platform. A statement by the party's National Publicity Secretary, Haruna Mohammed, called for unity within the party and commended the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and the police for ensuring a smooth election process. It also urged both agencies to address critical gaps in future polls. In our next report, the Transportation Secretariat of the Federal Capital Territory Administration has suspended the enforcement of its drivers and riders permit levy until further engagement with relevant stakeholders. The Mandate Secretary, Dr. Chinedum Elechi, gave the directive in a letter addressed to the managing director of the company contracted to collect the levy. The decision, according to Elechi, followed the meeting held with the leaders of the dispatch riders on February 19. Recall that the dispatch riders had on February 19 stormed the FCT Administration Secretariat Abuja, protesting what they described as multiple taxation. Now to Africa, where fighting between the Congolese army and the paramilitary AFC M23 has reportedly resumed in eastern DRC despite the ceasefire proposed last week by Angola's President João Lourenço. Kinshasa says the rebels are looking to strengthen their position while continuing diplomatic talks, but M23 categorically rejects the accusations. They say the government forces are behind the hostilities, citing strikes and ground offensives, targeting their positions and surrounding areas. On the foreign scene, more than 5,000 flights within, into or out of the United States have reportedly been cancelled for today as a major storm hits the East Coast. New York City has banned non-essential travel until 6 p.m. local time today. Reports say it is the first time in 9 years that New York City has been under a blizzard warning. Winter storm warnings stretch from North Carolina to northern Maine, with warnings also in place in parts of eastern Canada. According to the report, across the United States, more than 200,000 homes and businesses are without power. Still on the forum scene, North Korea's ruling Workers' Party has again chosen Kim Jong-un to be its general secretary. The announcement, which was made at a rubber-stamp party congress in Pyongyang, comes as little surprise given the Kim family has ruled by dictatorship since the late 1940s. Reports say under Kim's leadership, North Korea radically improved its war deterrence with nuclear forces as its pivot. Despite long-standing international sanctions, North Korea has continued to build its nuclear capabilities, regularly testing banned intercontinental missiles. According to the report, Kim is expected to announce the next phase of the country's weapons program during the 9th Congress of the Workers' Party of Korea, which began February 19 and is now in its 4th day. Still to come in the news. Everton set to face Manchester United in Premier League. Do stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. To conclude the news on this hour. On our business news, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASEN, has renewed its call for the federal government to divest majority shares in the nation state-owned refineries, urging authorities to adopt the Nigeria LNG model by selling at least 51% equity to core investors. Under the arrangement, the government would retain a minority stake while selling a majority shareholding to core investors. The national president of PENGASEN and the Trade Union Congress, Festus Osifo, made the recommendation in a live broadcast. Osifo said the union had consistently canvassed partial privatization of the refineries over the past 2 decades, insisting that government ownership structure had hindered efficiency and commercial viability. Still in business, foreign investments into Nigeria's production and manufacturing sector in the first 9 months of 2025 dropped by 54.11%, despite a 131.96% surge in overall capital importation. According to figures from the National Bureau of Statistics, the productive sector attracted $463.5 million between January and September 2025, down sharply from $1.01 billion recorded in the corresponding period of 2024. A breakdown of the capital data shows that the manufacturing sector received $129.9 million in Q1 2025, $72.2 million in Q2, and $261.3 million in Q3. The 54.11% year-on-year decline in manufacturing inflows came even as total capital importation into Nigeria rose from $7.2 billion in the first 9 months of 2024 to $16.7 billion in the same period of 2025. On our health news, Lagos State chapter of the Joint Health Sector Unions JHESU has suspended its strike following the intervention of the Lagos State House of Assembly. The decision was announced in a statement signed by the union's Lagos State Secretary Kabo Wolahan, who said the suspension followed extensive consultations with relevant stakeholders and labor bodies. According to the statement, the leadership of JHESU reached the decision after engagements involving the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC), the Trade Union Congress (TUC), the Joint Negotiating Council (JNC), and other professional groups, alongside what the union described as the timely and decisive intervention of the state legislature. JHESU noted that firm commitments were given that all issues raised by the union would receive favourable consideration, prompting the directive for members to resume work immediately across health facilities in the state. Still in health, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control (NAFDAC) has raised an alert over a suspected revalidated first infant milk formula found on sale in Kaduna State. The agency said the product, a 900-gram pack of infant formula, was reported after it allegedly caused stomach problems in a 4-month-old baby who consumed it. According to NAFDAC, a physical examination of the product showed clear signs of tampering. The agency said altering date markings amounts to product adulteration and misleads consumers about the safety and quality of the product. NAFDAC therefore urged healthcare professionals and members of the public to report any suspected sale of substandard or falsified regulated products to the nearest NAFDAC office. Now to sports, where Manchester United will face Everton tonight at the Hill Dickinson Stadium as they look to strengthen their push for a top 4 finish against David Moyes' side. The Red Devils have been revitalized under interim manager Michael Carrick, who has guided the side to a 9-match unbeaten run, the longest since 2021. Currently sitting level on points with Chelsea, United are the only Premier League side still unbeaten in 2026. Meanwhile, Everton sit 11th on the table and are aiming to complete a rare league double over United for the first time since the 2013-2014 season. Still in sports, Clarissa Shields defended her undisputed heavyweight crown by beating fellow American Franchon Cruz Desborn by unanimous points decision at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. In her first outing of an $8 million multi-fight deal, Shields was a 190 victor on the scorecards of all 3 judges as she retained her WBO, WBA, IBF and WBC titles. The 30-year-old is unbeaten in 18 professional outings following the 10-round bout, which included plenty of fiery exchanges between Shields and 38-year-old Cruz Desborn. In other entertainment news, controversial singer Portable has rejected a 50 million naira proposal to engage popular streamer Kata Efe in a boxing match. The music executive Soso Sobekon made the 15 million naira offer during a recent live stream with Qatar Affair, who accepted it without hesitation and even urged him to fix the date and venue for the match. However, reacting in a video broadcast, Portable rejected the 15 million naira offer and demanded that a luxury car worth 300 million naira be added to the price before he could agree to participate. Portable said he is confident of victory over Qatar Affair if his demands are met. And that's all we have on this news bulletin. Do what follows on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. This has been Spectrum Television News at 12 a.m. Thanks for watching. Good afternoon.